Hey guys, what's up? This is the boy who had 7. So today we're going to be talking about the Amazing Spider-Man number 797. The reason I chose this book this week is because there is an awesome fusion going on between two of Spider-Man's most epic villains. I'm talking about Spider-Man's oldest nemesis, the Green Goblin, and probably one of the most evil, bloodthirsty villains in the Amazing Spider-Man world, and that is Carnage. Yes, I said that right. You heard me. Carnage and the Green Goblin are fusing into one character, and we've got to talk about it today. Boy, am I excited for you guys to figure this out. All right, so the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to go back about 3 comics. And in The Amazing Spider-Man number 794, 795, and 796, there's this real cool storyline called Threat Level Red. Now, most of the comic we're not going to go over, but at the very end of each comic, we get to see a piece of what's going on with Norman Osborn. Now, you guys know Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin, okay? A while back, Spider-Man put some nanites in him that would stop him from turning into the Green Goblin, and he's kind of been healed for a long time, I guess, but he's not happy about it. And he's been looking for a way. Religion, magic, science, he's been doing everything that he can to get rid of those things in his blood so that he can turn into the Green Goblin again. I mean, this guy's dying for it. So all of a sudden, we see in Amazing Spider-Man 794, Norman Osborn sitting in his office. And he sent these 2 lackeys, or 2 of his workers, on a mission. And they come back and they're like, we succeeded. We fulfilled our mission and we found it. We found what you're looking for. And all of a sudden they pull out this glass case, and as you guys see it here, look inside. If you're a Spider-Man fan, you know that is a red symbiote, and a red symbiote is only gonna be Carnage. Okay, now man, this is blowing my mind. So the next thing that we see is that he kicks them out and he says, I need some time to study this thing here. Go ahead and leave my office. I need some peace and quiet. Wait outside the door and make sure no one comes in. On to 795. At the end of the comic book, we see Norman Osborn again. And this time we see him opening up the symbiote and allowing it to touch his body. And all of a sudden, the symbiote takes over him and it just comes all over his body, and Carnage is reborn. Now, the thing about Carnage is he's super bloodthirsty, and he's telling Norman Osborn, well, first of all, Norman Osborn's like, yes, we are finally you're gonna be able to help me fulfill what I want to fulfill. You're gonna be able to allow me to kill Spider-Man and build my empire back once again. And Carnage is like, nope, I just want to kill, 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 kill. And Norman's like, no, that's not why I let you out. That's not why I'm your new master. You've got to listen to me. You're going to help me kill Spider-Man. And then Carnage's like, yes, we'll kill Spider-Man, and then we'll kill the entire world, and we'll bathe in their blood. I mean, this being is absolutely evil and bloodthirsty. And so they're having this power struggle between Norman and between Carnage. And so the next thing that we see is the employees outside the door kind of hear this struggle going on inside, and they're like, hey boss, is everything okay? And so now we see the dual personalities of Norman and Carnage, because when they come together and a symbiote joins, you always have 2 creatures together, an alien and the human being, or the creature that they've bonded with. And so now you see Norman Osborn, he's like, no, everything's fine, just leave us alone, we need more quiet. And then Carnage is like, no, everything's not fine, come in, I need to talk to you. And so the employees are like, so they open the door, and all of a sudden Carnage is like, thank you for coming inside. And boom, you guys see here, he grabs them with his red symbiote hands, and he brings them inside, and he just straight murders them. He kills them, and Norman's like, what are you doing? This is not what I'm joining with you. This is not why I released you from your cage. You need to listen to me. And Carnage is like, hey, look, if you want my help, you knew how evil I was, and you have to pay a price. And this is the price, feeding my desire to murder and to kill. And so we see Carnage is like, look, I can help you. And Norman told him, look, I've been wanting to get rid of these nanites inside my body that were put there by Spider-Man. Help me out. And Carnage is like, I can do that. And all of a sudden Carnage is able to, because he bonds with his host on a cellular level, he's able to go in there, get those nanites, and then Norman right here, as you guys see, he spews them out. And all of a sudden he's free. And he's like, I'm excited, I'm ready to kill Spider-Man. And that is where this comic book begins. The Amazing Spider-Man number 797. So here we go with the new storyline, Go Down Swinging Part 1. Okay? This comic book starts off with you're in this dark room and you have Norman Osborn speaking to somebody. You're not sure who he's speaking to until you realize that he's talking to someone that he's captured and that he has tied up, and he's having a conversation with him, and you are seeing through this person's eyes. So you see Norman Osborn in your face telling you, I have welcomed you here. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to torture you so I can get all the information that I need from you about Spider-Man. And so you see from this person's eyes, whoever it is that's sitting here captured, you see this dark room that is like, there's all kinds of junk and stuff thrown over. Looks like there's dust everywhere. You have this really good art of Norman Osborn in his face with this evil smile. You've got this beautiful jack-o'-lantern just sitting there. This is the only source of light in this room. And so, you know, Norman Osborn is talking to this person and you don't know who it is. And that's what's really good about this comic, because we're going to go through a couple of flashbacks through Norman Osborn's the last couple hours that he's been around town and doing things. And you're going to start thinking, oh, is it this person? Oh, is it that person? So really good. But he has this person sitting there and he's like, I want to learn from you everything that you can tell me about Spider-Man. That is what I want to know. So then we get a flashback to 4 hours before, and I've got to really quickly tell you guys about this in the last comic books, number 796. Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, actually runs into Mary Jane. And Mary Jane, as you guys know, is probably the love of his life. I mean, he absolutely adored Gwen Stacy. If you don't know this, the Green Goblin kills her, okay? And so later on, it's part of his reluctancy to fall in love with Mary Jane. I mean, he loved Gwen Stacy. Green Goblin found out. She gets killed. Spider-Man never wants to lose love like that again. Never wants to put anybody in danger again. And this is part of his reluctancy to be with Mary Jane over the years. They finally get together, but because he's Spider-Man and he's always having to go out there, Mary Jane just can't handle it. Personally, I hate that storyline. It makes Mary Jane kind of look weak, but it's a long history and many years of writing. So where we're at now is they're not a couple. At one point, she's dating Iron Man, Tony Stark. And right now, she's working for him as his CEO. So they run into each other, and at the end of the last comic, they like have this little flirty thing going on, and she invites him over to her house. And so this comic begins, as you guys see here. They're kind of like kissing on his couch. And then as she's removing his top button, inappropriate, she sees the Spider-Man get up. She sees his suit, and she just withdraws. And she's like, I can't do this. Please leave. And he's like, why? Is it because of Spider-Man? She's like, yes, you know it's because of Spider-Man. And he's like, you know I can't do anything. Like, she's like, I know. I'm not mad at you. It's just every time there's a scream, every time there's an ambulance, you run off. And I can't deal with that. I can't have this in my life. And Spider-Man's like, what do you want me to do if I hear a scream or if I hear an ambulance? And she's like, I don't want you to do anything. I want you to be Spider-Man. I just don't need that in my life. And then she bites her tongue. She's like, I shouldn't have said that. I love you. I do need you in my life. I just can't deal with this. Can you please leave out through the window? And so as Spider-Man's exiting, we see Norman Osborn on the top of another building with a trench coat on, like if he's spying things out, and he sees Spider-Man leave, and he's like, what is Spider-Man doing at Mrs. Watson's apartment? So the first thing I think is, oh my gosh, does he have Mary Jane tied up there in this dark room about to torture her to find out who Spider-Man is? I'm like, it kills me. So next thing, we're back into the room again. As Norman's speaking to whoever it is that he has tied up, all of a sudden he hears something. And he turns around and he starts like running through the room. He's like, we have a guest. And he dives on the floor, and all of a sudden you see his eyes. Look at this picture here, guys. His eyes are like this monster eyes, red and ugly and horrible. And he grabs this rat and he picks up the rat and he's like, you shouldn't have come in here. And he turns around to the person he's holding. He's like, if you don't tell me what I want to know, this is going to happen to you. And all of a sudden he just bites the head off of the rat. Oh my goodness, this is just gross and nasty. So, side note, when Spider-Man gets kicked out of Mary Jane's house, he kind of leaves and he's talking to himself, and it's part of the reason why I love Spider-Man, because he uses humor to get through the pain and the heartache in his life. And so I just want to show you guys this really quick. I want you to read along with me because this is a really good part. As he's exiting her room, he's kind of flying off by himself. You see this picture, he starts talking to himself. So how's your day going, web spinner? Oh, you know, world's most beautiful woman, the girl I've always cared about the most, kissed me and told me to jump out a window. So the usual, huh? Pretty much. And then we have this picture over here. He's swinging through the town, and this is why Spider-Man's always touched my heart, because he's so selfless. He's willing to give up so much, his own personal happiness with the girl that he loves, so he can be a hero and take care and help people. It's just his responsibility, and obviously he has that amazing mantra that says, with great power comes great responsibility. And so here we go. We see a little bit more into Peter. We see how sometimes his life is really falling apart around him, and nobody respects him the way that they should. And so there's this little thing here where this guy is just walking through New York. He's begging the heavens to let him take his mind off of Mary Jane, and all of a sudden he sees this purse thief running. He shoots his web, swings the guy up, and the guy's like hanging there, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, Spider-Man, not again! You know that I'm gonna have to, that my shoulder blade has come out, and now I'm gonna have therapy for 5 weeks." And it's like, first thing that you think is, oh my gosh, what a horrible, like, this guy, like, doesn't even respect Spider-Man, you know? And then as he's hanging there, you know, Spider-Man gets the purse and helps the lady go. And then the guy's like, "Hey, man, don't leave me up here hanging. The last time someone was here, they stole my shoes. And could you just, you know, swing some web on my shoes and make them stick there?" But it's kind of like Spider-Man becomes this, like, comedy, or this everyday appearance to the people of New York. Either the people are so hard that they don't care, or Spider-Man is just not what he used to be. I mean, it's kind of sad, but it kind of makes me love Peter, because he's willing to get into the muck. He's willing to do whatever he can, no matter how small or how big of a level it is. And that's what I love about Spider-Man. So back to Norman Osborn. He's interviewing this person, and he is, or not interviewing, interrogating this person. And we see that all of a sudden he hears somebody else. And he's like, "Ooh, we have another visitor. Stay there and wait for me." And I mean, he's so creepy and weird. Like, you guys need to read this. It's so good. And so he leaves the room, and all of a sudden you see the Goblin King. And now this is another guy named Phil Urich. His uncle is Ben Urich, who's like in a lot of the comic books since back in the day. He's a reporter. And also, if you guys have been watching Daredevil, on Netflix, Ben Urich is the black reporter that, spoiler, be careful, but that he works with the Daredevil team, and then he ends up getting killed by the Kingpin. Yeah, that Ben Urich, okay? So this guy is his nephew, and at some point he was a good guy, and he got, you know, doused with a bunch of the Green Goblin's chemicals, and then he, you know, turned bad over time. It's been a long time, and now we see him reappearing again. He's this bad guy that's working for Alchemax, or against Alchemax, and he now is breaking into this house looking for some of the Green Goblin's old weapons. And so as he's like searching through this pile of weapons, he finds a bunch of the pumpkin bombs and stuff. Norman Osborn comes up behind him. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he turns around. He's like, "Oh, Norman, what are you doing? You're just a regular guy. You don't scare me." But he's still kind of nervous about him, because when the Green Goblin was at power, he was evil and he was powerful. But he's like, "You know what? I know he has nanites. I know he can't hurt me." So, you know, the Goblin King filler gets like all macho, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm not scared of you." And so Norman Osborn's like, "Oh, you're not scared of me? Oh, well, you should be." And then feels like, or the Goblin King's like, "You know what? I'm sick and tired of you. I'm just going to sentence you to death." And he pulls out this burning sword that he has, and he goes to just kill Norman Osborn, and then Norman Osborn just catches the sword in his hand. And the Goblin King's like, "How the heck are you doing this?" And Norman Osborn's like this, and then his hand, you just see in the shadow, look at this picture, his hand just turns into the symbiote and just goes right through his chest and everything, and he literally just kills the Goblin King here. and blood all over him and everything. And so as he walks back upstairs, the person that he's interrogating is like, what happened? I heard all these sounds down there. I heard screaming and stuff. And why are you covered in blood? And he's like, because there was another vermin. And if you don't do what I say, then you're going to get what you see. And so he has this conversation. And I want to read you this conversation because it's really important. So here we go. You see this picture here. And he's kind of like if he's like carrying up the body up the stairs. And he said, the person that is sitting there, what happened? All those sounds down there. Why are you covered in pest control problem? But it's been dealt with, just like I'll deal with the wall crawler. It's a messy business, but there's a trick to it. Dress for the job you want. And all of a sudden we see him putting on the Green Goblin costume. And then the person sitting there is like, the Goblin? You think you're just going to put on that stupid suit and beat him? And then, yes. Well, you're wrong, because I do know the Spider-Man. And I know you'll never beat him. Not like that. Know why? Because the Green Goblin's a loser. Spidey takes you down every time, no matter what you throw at him. You put him through the worst night of his life, threw his girl off a bridge, and still he fought his way back. That's who he is, and why he'll always beat you. And then all of a sudden you see this next picture, and he's just sitting there thinking, and then he's like, his girl off the bridge? For years I couldn't remember. The itch I could never scratch, but now, of course. And look at this. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That whoever was sitting there, they opened their mouth. I mean, they did it in a good way. They had good intentions, but what do we always hear, right? I mean, good intentions sometimes lead to bad things, and in this case, it was. He was passionate. He was fighting for Spider-Man. He was fighting for Peter, and then he put his foot in his mouth. And the Green Goblin now and Carnage now know who Spider-Man is. And so here's the next thing that you see. The greatest weapon I ever had against the wall crawler. It's mine again. And I owe it all to you, old friend. J. Jonah Jameson. And then he's like, what have I done? And that is the end of the comic book, guys. Yes, J. Jonah Jameson is the one that he's been holding there, getting ready to torture and take out information from. If you guys don't know, J. Jonah Jameson found out that Spider-Man was Spider-Man because Peter pretty much told him because he was going through some hard things. And Peter wanted to, for the first time in their history, kind of reach out heart to heart with him. And so now we see that Peter made a huge mistake. J. Jonah Jameson, even though he had good intentions, made a huge mistake. But the crazy cool thing about this comic book is the scary and sick grossness of the idea of the Green Goblin and Carnage coming together as one individual villain. Man, it is awesome. I'm excited about this. I haven't been excited about the Spider-Man story for a while, but this is getting me back into it. And with the Venom movie coming out soon, this is some good timing. I hope that this story, they don't stretch it out too much, because right now I'm already like, okay, they're stretching it. I hope it's just not a ploy to make money. Always Marvel, if you make good stories, we're gonna buy them. You don't have to stretch them out and just use us for our money. Make a great story, please, and we will buy it. So far, I like this one. Don't push it too far. Guys, thank you for watching. I want to know what you think about Carnage and the Green Goblin coming together as the Red Goblin. I mean, take a look at some of these pictures that I have on here as we're talking at the end of this video. I mean, he looks absolutely epic. He looks absolutely evil. He looks scary. I mean, if you want to get into this comic book, you can find second, third printings already. The first printings are already going for 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks online because the story is something brand new character. But I mean, look at how cool this character looks. I mean, I remember watching the Amazing Spider-Man animated series when I was like in 5th grade and seeing Carnage for the first time. The dude, he was so evil. He breaks through his jail cell and comes out, and the first thing that he does is kill this old man and this old woman in their car. I mean, that guy has always given me the creeps, especially because the symbiote is a child of Venom, so it already has kind of partial of Venom in it, part of Spider-Man in it, but then it also bonds with Cletus Cassidy, which that's his first appearance right there. And Cletus Cassidy is like this murderer, rapist, evil individual. And so, I mean, Carnage has always just given me the creeps. and some of the most evil things that have ever happened in Marvel Comics come from Carnage. So I'm really excited about this comic. I really love this idea because they have these two villains put together. I mean, it's just amazing. So please like and subscribe to the channel. Comment, let me know what you think. Guys, thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you later.